once again to one of our Hobby Memorial Library events. We are so excited today to have with us Leera Calaunan. She works in the reprographics department, printing department, and she is a whiz on organization, time management, and she is going to show us some really cool tricks on how she's able to run that entire area. So I'm going to go ahead. Hey, Leera, thank you. And take it
Hi,
away.
sure. I'm just going to be I wanted to briefly talk about how my system works. So I'm going to be going over first the Google Calendar and how I utilize that. And then after that, I'll be doing the bullet journal. So the whole entire point, the reason why I mix both the Google Calendar and the bullet journal is for me, the Google Calendar works for I would say I would organize it by the importance of the event. So for example, if there's something that's like a constant, so let's say, every Tuesday through Thursday, I work from, 7:30 to 5:30. I could put that in there and then I can input I put in subtasks or big tasks that usually take a while. So like for time blocking. And then I would say for especially meetings or doctor's appointments, I usually utilize the Google Calendar the most, and I'm going to share my screen right now. And share. And I just want to double check. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, and let me. I'm trying to turn off my camera real quick so I can show you guys the bullet journal aspect of it. Sorry, I'm the thing isn't like popping up for me.
That's all right, Leera. Let's just go over this one and then you can get us dizzy. We don't mind getting dizzy when you need to turn it.
Okay. Well, so like I explained before, the reason why I usually use the Google Calendar is for time blocking, like I stated before. And so, for example, right now I have I usually put the stuff that doesn't really change in like cool colors because to me that's like more aesthetically pleasing. And then the more important things I usually reserve for like the really warm colors like red or orange so it just pops out. For example, for this one, like I have the constant of working at CTC from 7:30 to 5:30, and that never really changes. And then in that time, I usually input like specific time sensitive tasks, like approving of time cards, meetings, and also very specific work tasks that I need to do on a monthly basis. I believe if you go into last week, it's not I showing my screen, but it's like technically already passed, but I had I had to do envelopes and then I had to do like billings. And I put that as a separate task and then I have it as repeating for every month or so. So I never like miss the deadline. And then I wanted to also put in a tip for anybody who's one to utilize the Google Calendar because the reason why I like the Google Calendar is I usually almost always have my phone on me. And it's very useful to have like that meeting reminder of an important event at least like an hour before, just so I'm not completely blindsided, like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about a meeting or what have you, because like I forgot I left my agenda or my bullet journal at home. Like I'll always have my phone and like I'll always have I have the smartwatch, so like I have the little pop up like, hey, you have a meeting at like this time, and it's gonna be in like 30 to 45 minutes. I just like having that just so I can like mentally prepare myself. Um, and then I would say like for example, because I live with other people at home, I also use it for my personal time. So like I have specific laundry hours, and I do it on Thursdays and Fridays, as well as like, my extracurriculars of I work out by roller skating, like at Lions Park, so I put that in there as well as like a specific time block. A tip is that you should start really small with a Google Calendar. I don't recommend like constantly time block. Like if you go in to Google Calendar, like, time blocking, and you try to do everything, like each individual like thing that you have to do, it's not going to stick. So if you're, new to this, I would recommend input time that is, or like, organize it by, like your work shifts, and then also like any doctor's appointments or any meetings first. And then, you can build on it, and then you can add in like these extracurriculars. Because if you don't have that solid foundation of at least like, oh yeah, I need to put this in there so I have the reminder on my phone, you're gonna not want to update it anymore. You're just gonna give up on it because it's like too much work. You want to make it as easy as possible, so like, you build on it. Because I've been doing this. I started with the system, I would say about 3 to 4 years ago, and I feel like just now, after like 4 years, I'm kind of getting a lot better at it and like better with time management. Obviously, I'm not perfect, but you know, I definitely feel like this situation or this like setup works for me really well. And also another personal tip for me, it is to give yourself a buffer time depending on the task or the meeting itself. So if, you're expecting like a meeting with somebody, and like talking to them, like you're going to go over like at least 30 minutes just talking to them about like what you need to talk to, you should like put in that buffer time. So for example, for me, I put in for my roller skating because I know that everybody's getting off at that time of like 5:30 to 6. I put in an additional buffer time of 30 minutes for me to work out in, so I don't feel rushed to get there. And like, possibly cause an accident or something because I'm rushing to get to the park so I can work out. Um, and like same thing should be like that should like you should always try to put in that buffer time for you, just because sometimes like you only focus to do one task, like at work or something, and then, you know, you're so in the zone that how do I say it? Like you're so in the zone that like you lose track of time. And, you know, like I don't think you should completely ditch the time blocking if it's like, if you just go over a little bit. Like it should be like very flexible and malleable. And then, yeah, I think that's like my general for the Google Calendar and why I use it. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can show you guys what I do for my bullet journal. Sorry. Right. There's that. Okay. So this is my bullet journal. You don't have to get the super fancy stuff ever. There's only like three requirements that I would recommend for like a bullet journal. Heck, I've even talked with some of my other coworkers into getting a bullet journal, and they found one at Walmart. Um, the only requirement that I would say is for your starter supplies is a pen, a highlighter, and then a dotted journal. And you can go super fancy and get the Leuchtturm, or the Moleskin, or even something cute like this where it's like gold on the edges. You can't really see it because of light, but any sort of dotted journal would be fine. And even like if you have like an old notebook that you are kind of not using anymore, that's also okay. Like the whole entire point of the bullet journal is to be extremely malleable, to like what you currently need. So there are also some additional supplies because I know that a lot of if you're like not new to bullet journaling, you've seen the very pretty Pinterest spreads um, of like, let me show you, like, because you'll see stuff like this and it's like all filled out and looks so pretty. You don't have to have all of these like the stickers and the washi tape. You don't need any of that. Realistically, it needs to serve whatever function that you require it to. Because I'm gonna be real honest, this is what my bullet journal looks like on a regular basis. It's literally just me like having these check mark boxes and I'm just writing out my to-do list. And then as like the days go on, like I'll transfer it to the next page and then like I'll do my next to-do list because this is like realistically this is what my to-do list looks like. Um so there are all additional supplies like I mentioned. There's the washi tape. You can do colored pens if that makes you like happy. You can get a glue pen, which I think brought mine. Yep. If you like are huge into like scrapbooking or if you have a tendency to like not throw away things, a lot of people use their bullet journal to just keep memories in, like, you know, oh, I went to the train or whatever, and then they're like, I don't want to throw it away. I just put this on and then like slap it in there, and then like, you know, I don't have that like clutter. There's also like stamping like supplies and stickers that you can add in. But let's get into the big important stuff. Um, the basic setup that was created by writer Carol, who essentially created the entire bullet journal setup, um, followed these like six bits of making a bullet journal. So you have your index, which I have mine here, and it's like numbered, and essentially it's telling you like what is on what page. And I keep it because I think it's a great like thing to keep track of. There's the future log, which is usually an overview of like each. There's like usually if you go to a specific like I believe it was the Lois term that I had, where they had like a section right here and split into threes. And then each section was for a month. And so you would write down like what you were expecting. Um, I personally don't really like that just because I write it all here on my monthly. So this one was for the past like January spread, and you know this one works for me because it's a little bit more visual, and I can put in these really cute little sticky tabs of like additional notes that I need. Um, then there's the monthly. Usually the monthly is actually written kind of in this style where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then, you know, it goes down to like 29, 30, or 31, depending on the month. I didn't really like that style just because it felt very, it was very simplified, but it just didn't work for me because I like looking at pretty things if I need to constantly reference it. So that's why like whenever I do the bullet journal, I put in a lot of effort into making the what they call it, the monthly spread as pretty as I possibly can so I remember to look at it. Then there's weeklies. I don't really do weeklies. I do it on very rare occasions. It just depends on like how my workflow is. It always varies. But here's an example of a weekly that I did when I believe in January that I really liked. So how they set it up was you had your work stuff that you needed to do, and I always have this rule of set yourself up for at least 3 tasks that you can complete in one day. And as long as you got those 3 tasks done, you know, you have done it. You're fantastic. You're doing great. And then because sometimes people will overwhelm themselves by doing something very similar to this. And I know that this kind of is very overwhelming seeing this like large chunk of text. So it just start small with, you know, especially if you're new to like any sort of bullet journaling or any sort of to-do list, like writing down. just start off with 3, you know. But anyways, I do the work on the left and then home stuff that I need to do on the right. And that helps organize my thoughts for weeklies. But you don't have to do it like that. If you don't want to, you can make it a January, or you can start at any time, any like day, any month. You know, that's why I really like the bullet journal uh, format, is how flexible it is, and it doesn't really punish you. Like whenever I've had the agendas, I always felt really bad when I didn't use up certain days. Like I would just have blank days and then we would have to like, you know, skip through it because I didn't use up that day and it was already dated. But with the bullet journal, I could just not pick this up for a couple, you know, days or even a week or so. And, you know, I could just not feel bad because like I didn't write in it. So I don't have to like worry about wasting paper. Yeah, so it's usually set up monthly, weekly, and then dailies, which would be kind of how this would be set up. And then there's the last bit, which is my favorite, which is collections. It keeps track of a lot of things. So for example, if you are trying to start up a new like yearly goal, like let's say you want to try to read 15 books, um, you can keep track of that in collections. It can be books, it can be movies, you can keep track of like what comics you're reading, you know. Collections can be anything. Um, I personally really like the one where you keep track of like products that you've gone through, because I'm like a huge hoarder of like beauty products or like stationery. So whenever I finally go through a product, I make sure to write it down because let me show you. Yeah, this is like my past reading list. I've already gone through like 6 things, six the comics, I believe. Yeah, 6 comics already. And then this is supposed to be the future log that I did, but I only put it on one page because I didn't really find it useful for me. I think I might just do away with the whole entire like future log in general. But I also, you know, for my collections, I put in accomplishments. So like for this one, I went to my first book club meeting. You know, I think that's like fun and cool. I really like the bullet journal because you can also kind of, it's like journaling if you're trying to journal or you're trying to just keep track of things that you've done, like for memory keepsake. I think the bullet journal is really flexible and I really like it, like how, you know, um, it can be whatever you want it to be, essentially. And then here I have like year in film, what movies I've watched so far. And so far I've watched about 4. I need to update that. But yeah, and then like this is the empties that I was talking about. I do like, you know, makeup, stationery, uh, bath and body stuff, you know. It makes me feel more accomplished. And so far I've already like, you know, gone through so many things. It just encourages me to use up what I currently have. So I'm not constantly buying things. Another aspect of the collections is that you can do favorites. I do I do this because I just want to know what was like the thing that I really liked of that month. You know, I just think because I don't really have the time to journal, but I really want to. And I want to like, you know, tell my family or my friends what I've been up to. Like, this is a great way to like keep track of all that. And like, you know, people always ask me recommendations for movies, music, and I like to have all of this. Like, what do I like? Because whenever people ask me like, oh, what are you into right now? I just completely forget entirely. Like I forget every single movie I've ever watched. I forget every single like song I've ever listened to. And I'm just like, well, at least now because I wrote it down, it's all in one place. um, Let me go back because I actually wrote it in my bullet journal as well. My current plan for this, and you know, my setup. Yeah, I have the index. And I also, okay, what makes mine different is that I added in like a couple of other things as well. So I have usually the index is supposed to go first and then the future log, but I didn't do the future log, but I did do my resolutions. Whenever you're starting something new, it's always best to like try to put it in a place where you see it regularly or it's the first thing that you pop into, just because I find that visualizing it helps a lot, and it like reminding yourself like what your goals are and like what you want to track is very useful to like keeping those goals. Because but also like don't overwhelm yourself, because I would say recommend again 3 to like 5 goals. And then like, because if you put too many, you're gonna get overwhelmed and then you're not gonna do any of it because it's just too overwhelming to keep track of so many things at once. Um, I also keep track of like budget stuff as well. A lot of people have a separate binder entirely for it, but for me personally, I include budget things. Like, for example, this one is for like, what are my subscriptions that I'm currently paying for, and how does that deduct? Um, and I think here, where is it? You can also put in your work things as well. Oh, yeah, and this is one of the dailies that I did, work and home, things I need to do and complete. But you can also put like work stuff, like this is like a reference sheet for me personally, because sometimes um, I'm away from my desk, but I need to give a reference, because I'm in a meeting at somewhere else on campus of like what vendor was this used for. Just very useful things. And then this one's another one, like the old buildings and the new buildings on Central Campus, because there's some places where it's like people still refer to them as their old building number or their old building name, and then I have to give them the new building number. So like it's not confusing on the campus maps. You can put big goals. So like one of mine is trying to curb down on like buying things. I have like a whenever I get upset, I have a tendency to go shopping. So like, writing down like directly like what type of things I can't buy. So for me, my biggest thing is I have a thing for shopping for like clothing accessories, like sunglasses and belts. And then, but then also like reading books. I have a huge problem of like buying books and then I just never read them. So I'm hoping that with this book club, that will be curbed a little and I'll actually be able to read a couple of books on my shelf. Um, but yeah, having like just big goals and like brain dumping them essentially into your bullet journal will help immensely, because um, you can list a big goal, but until you break it down into little chunks, it's going to be very difficult for you to achieve them. And that's why like I wrote this all down. And I also have like savings goals that I want to have. And then, for example, I have this one, which is like I keep track of like how much I pay for my car loan, and like how much is going into interest. And every single time I'm able to like subtract like $10. Like I contributed 10 more dollars than I did on my car loan. Like it just makes me feel a little bit better. And to see the number go from like 30,000 down to like 9,000, it feels a little bit more tangible and it makes you feel a little bit more accomplished. Um, and then, in terms of other weekly formats, is this type of weekly format, which is kind of based off of the Hobo Michi Techo planner, where it's like they base it on time. And, you can do it like this. I do like very general time blocking. I don't like overwhelm myself by stacking it, because there are some people that will stack their stuff and they got like sticky notes on sticky notes and like things are highlighted and it's like crazy. Um, I find that very simple, like maybe plan one thing for the day and like maybe go over, it's a little bit more um it doesn't look as stressful. um and then and then I keep this personally because I lose track of things that I've personally already tried out. So this one is my bullet journal, like what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and what I want to try out for the bullet journal. Just because, there might be something new that you see online that you want to try out, but you don't remember if you've actually done it. I have done a couple of these um, a little bit more frequently than others. I've tried before doing pre-made dailies, so I would number the page and then essentially be like, this would be Monday, and then this would be Tuesday, and then I would just write out like what I need to do on that day. But I find for me personally, putting so many tasks for each specific day, what if there's a task on Monday that I needed to do just for Monday, but then it spiraled into a bigger problem, so I needed to push it on to Tuesday as well. You know, I find that that doesn't work for me. But I do find that daily on the fly to-do list that I just start, while I'm working, like, oh, I need to do that, write that down. That works for me. And like I use it all the time. And there's like another thing that I do is to memorize like my friends and family's birthday. Is that, I'm a huge like zodiac fan. I love like, keeping track of like, oh, you're a Gemini, or you're a Scorpio, that sort of thing. So I section off like some of my monthlies. I do it here. Like if you're in this pink section, you're like a Cancer. And then if you're in this section, you're a Leo. I find that that helps with my timing personally. Um, and then here, like I have Google Calendar alarms for like time sensitive things. So like, doctor's appointments, meetings. Um, that works really well for me. I find, I really like it. Same thing with, so something that I didn't show is is so like I started using Google Calendar because there was this blogger, and he said that, and he like, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to like organization. um he would put down his professor's office hours into a completely separate like sub calendar in Google Calendar, and he would flip it on and off whenever he needed to go visit his professor. And then he could see like what times they were already available because he already pre-programmed it in his calendar at the beginning of the semester. And I just thought that was really smart. And I do that with stores that I frequent, like, bookstores or like restaurants that I really like being in. I always I put in the hours of operation. Like, for example, I go to the Colleen Library a lot, so I have a sub calendar in my Google Calendar that I can flip on and off to see which Colleen Library is available, whether it's the Coppers Mountain or the main library, because they do have different hours. Um, and I just find that that works for me really well. Another thing that works for me and that we've already kind of talked about is the time sensitive to do tasks and time blocking. Um, I find that having like, these pink things don't really work out for me super well, which is like having, separate collections for empties, um, separating my cleaning log, because sometimes I forget like, oh, I should probably like wipe down my fan, my ceiling fan. And I lose track of that. And like, by the time I get around to it, there's like just dust and like pet hair all over my fan. So like, having a bullet journal, at least writing it down in the monthly section, I put it in the notes area. Like when I clean something during that month, so I can quickly reference it. And this is like my current spread for February. I have the notes in here saying like, hey, it's my coworker's son's birthday, and that it's going to be a special theme. So I should probably dress accordingly or have like a gift prepared that is of this theme. As well as like, oh, I have like all these events. And if I needed to, like, I could, put more notes here, or I use like just regular sticky notes. Or if it's like real small, I just use this guy. It's like a little sticky note of Karopi because I love Karopi. I love anything with frogs on it. Um, but you can find like, I think finding really cute things that you really like makes you want to open it more. Um, and where is it? Try to find, because I have these page flags and I don't know where I put them. They're not in here. Um, but it's these page flags and uh, and I put them on my most like important stuff in my bullet journal because there are certain ones where like you can make your own page flags. I believe using tape, but I just found these ones. I got these from Daiso, so they're like I think it's $1.50 for a pack of like I want to say 120 of them, 120 of these little page flag things, and they're super useful. And usually whenever you get a bullet journal like this, they will always have like some form of pocket that you can shove paper goods in there. I really like it. Um, However, I do have a tendency to like overstuff it, so it's like kind of, full on the side. But yeah, I I'm not really sure what else to go over other than don't overwhelm yourself with, you know, trying to do everything, and also don't try to overwhelm yourself because it doesn't look pretty. Like bullet journals aren't supposed to look pretty. They should be functional. They should serve you and you alone. Um, because, you know, I to me like it should the the pretty aspect of it and the art aspect that a lot of people see, it's nice, but I personally don't keep my bullet journals. I usually shred them once I'm done, just because they have a lot of sensitive information. But some people do keep them, so if you are like very nostalgic and you want to keep your stuff and you want to make it look nice, go and do that. But just know that, bullet journals are meant to be used and you shouldn't stress over them too much. And you should try a lot of things to make it fit you and what you need on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's about it. I'm gonna flip over my
Flip us over. Well, that was really great. I totally understand why I hate looking at my to-do lists because they're not pretty. I think that was a great idea to have them, just make it you and make it your own. And, then you're like you said, you're not, it doesn't seem like work. It seems like, okay, this is part of my life. What an amazing philosophy of life that you've shown us with your journal and your Google Calendar. So that we really, really, really do appreciate that. And where would you find, like you said, it's called a bullet journal. Is it just a
Yeah.
journal or is it something specific?
It's just a regular dotted journal, like any of them work. I know for a fact that you can find them even at Walmart, Target. I got mine from this Japanese bookstore if you want like a very like, the pretty design. But you can find any sort of dot if you just look at dotted journal, and it doesn't even have to even be like a dotted journal. It could be just regular lined notebook. But for me, I find this to be very comfortable, this size, because I can put this in my purse, and I can take it with me anywhere. Um, but yeah, usually like you can find these and they're like already pre-numbered. I find that numbering them on the page at the bottom is also pretty useful for finding things. Um, but you can find them at, Walmart, Target, any bookstore usually will have them. Barnes and Noble should have dotted journals. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money in order to obtain a dotted journal, and no one should ever feel pressured to get like the fancy Leuchtturm or the fancy Moleskine when they're first starting out, because you don't even know if you might not even like the system. Maybe you might find that just doing everything digitally through Google Calendar and Google Tasks works the best for you. Um, But for me personally, I find that I remember and retain things a lot better when I have to write it down, like in a book.
Well, I thought it was brilliant that you write down what you have because I have 75,000 rolls of Scotch tape because I keep forgetting that I have 75,000 rolls of Scotch tape. So,
Hmm.
so I think it's a great idea to, just kind of keep an inventory of things that you may tend to pick up, you know.
Hmm.
Those are some amazing, unique ideas that you gave us on what you can do that is totally organizing your life. That is
Yeah.
awesome. Let me, hey, Alyssa, do we have any questions for Lyra? No questions, no. Yeah, well, I'm excited. I think I'm going to go out and get me a bullet journal. I mean, my go-to is email myself the list, email myself the list, email myself the list. But then when you forget to look at your email, you accidentally delete your
Yeah.
email, you're lost. So
Yeah.
it's just not going to work. So I like that idea. Well, good.
Hmm.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Lyra. Any other last words of encouragement for those of us trying to survive adulthood here?
I would say my biggest thing is to set up the system first, and then, having big goals is good, but naturally, if you set the system first, you'll get to the goal. Like focus on the system, and then, once you have it all, like it's marinated very well into your daily life, into your lifestyle, then what you want to achieve will come naturally.
And you do achieve a lot. And now we know your secret. You're awesome. You are awesome. Well, thank you so much. And before we go, guys, I want to remind you guys of a bunch of more events we've got coming up. That this Wednesday we have restaurant catering owner Lavina Sabri that is going to be doing a cooking vegan demonstration. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then next week we have childcare with CTC Assistant Director Child Development Center Janine Garza. She's gonna, tell us how to not shake or drop that baby. But she's going to give us some suggestions on childcare. And then we have that same week, we have podcaster Keisha Ward, who is going to be giving us some encouraging life lessons on top of repurposing. Make sure that you guys check out, we have an entire semester of surviving adulthood. This is for those of us who have gone through life and finally find out about journaling and how it could have, organized their life 20 years ago. So I hope you guys will, continue to watch these and we really, really thank you, Lyra, and thank all of our speakers that are helping us along in this journey of adulthood. And guys, just keep going watching. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Lyra. And we will see you later. The weather's not too bad. Later on in the week, it's going to get rainy. So go do everything you need to do today or tomorrow. So. All righty. Well, Alyssa, you can take us out. Thank you, Lyra.